All right, when I say global banking giant, what comes to mind? Wall Street? London? Sure. But what if I told you one of the most interesting stories in finance is happening right now in Southeast Asia? We're talking about Vietcombank. This isn't just a big bank in Vietnam. It's an absolute powerhouse that's driving the country's economy. And get this, it's also at the forefront of a green revolution in finance. So let's dive right in. So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll get a sense of just how massive this bank is. Then we'll take a quick look at its history, dig into the numbers that make it tick, explore its huge push into digital and green banking, and finally, see what its ambitions are for the world stage. Sound good? Let's go.
Okay, so first things first, we really need to get a handle on the scale we're talking about here. It's kind of hard to even put into words just how colossal Vietcombank is within Vietnam.
Let's talk money. Its market cap is hovering around 20 billion US dollars. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that's big enough to land it in the top 100 largest listed banks in the world. We're not playing around here. This is a genuine financial heavyweight.
Okay, now hold on to your hats for this one. Total assets, we're looking at over 2 quadrillion Vietnamese dong. That's a 2 with 15 zeros after it. I mean, a number that big is almost just abstract, right? But what it really tells you is that this bank is completely woven into the very fabric of Vietnam's economy.
So, the big takeaway from all this? Vietcombank isn't just a bank, it's the bank. It's a fundamental pillar of the Vietnamese economy, and it's consistently named the country's most valuable brand. This is an institution that truly matters.
But it wasn't always this massive, you know? It had to start somewhere. Let's jump in the time machine for a second and see how a specialized state bank grew into the powerhouse it is today. So, its story begins way back in 1963, created for one specific purpose, handling foreign trade. But then, 2008 happened. That was the year of its IPO, and it was a total game changer. It became a joint stock commercial bank, opening itself up to private investors. And the growth from there was just incredible. Fast forward to 2019, and boom, it hits this huge milestone, becoming the very first bank in Vietnam to rake in over $1 billion in profit in a single year.
All right, that history is impressive, but it's the numbers that really tell the story. Let's pop the hood and look at the financial engine that makes Vietcombank a true market leader.
Just check out its profitability. In a single year between 2022 and 2023, its profit before tax leaped from about 37 trillion dong to over 41 trillion. And this isn't some lucky fluke, it's a pattern. This is what steady, powerful growth looks like. So where is all this value coming from? Well, this chart is pretty revealing. Almost 70% of its assets are just loans to customers. That tells you that, at its heart, Vietcombank is doing what a bank is supposed to do, lending money to people and businesses, fueling growth right across the country.
And wow, are they good at it? You see these ratios here? Don't worry, I'll break it down. High ROAE and ROA basically mean they're incredibly efficient at turning their assets into profit. But the number that really jumps out at me is the NPL ratio. That's non-performing loans, basically bad loans. And theirs is under 1%. That's just incredibly low. It shows amazing risk management. They aren't just making a ton of money, they're doing it the smart way.
Okay, so the performance is stellar. But in today's world, that's not enough. To stay on top, you need a vision for the future. And Vietcombank's vision? It rests on 2 massive pillars, digital transformation and going green.
And a huge part of that is something you've probably heard about, ESG. That stands for environmental, social, and governance. It's basically a framework that helps companies operate in a way that's responsible and sustainable. And for Vietcombank, this isn't some checkbox exercise. They're putting it right at the center of everything they do. And this right here really shows you the massive shift in thinking. On one side, you've got traditional banking, branches, products, the old way of doing things. On the other, Vietcombank's future, digital first, totally customer-centric, and driven by ESG and green finance. This isn't just a tweak, it's a complete strategic overhaul. When it comes to digital, they are not messing around. They did a huge overhaul of their core systems back in 2020. Then they launched VCB Digibank, which has millions and millions of regular folks using it. They've got a separate platform, VCB Digibiz, just for their corporate clients. And they're pouring money into the cool stuff, big data, AI, to make sure they stay ahead of the curve.
And their commitment to being green is just as intense. Get this. Vietcombank was the first bank in all of Vietnam to issue green bonds that meet international standards. This isn't just for show, you guys. This is about putting serious capital into projects that protect the environment. They're dead set on becoming the #1 green bank in the country.
So you've got amazing performance, a rock-solid foundation, and a killer future strategy. What's next? Well, Vietcombank is starting to look far, far beyond its own borders. They're aiming for the global stage.
And you can just feel the ambition in this quote from their deputy CEO. He talks about being confident in its journey to conquer new heights and making a great contribution to the sustainable development of Vietnam. It's not just about profits, it's about purpose. And they've actually laid out their 2030 vision in 3 huge steps. Step 1, completely dominate the #1 position in Vietnam, no question. Step 2, crack the top 200 financial groups on the planet. And step 3, earn a spot among the 700 largest listed companies globally. I mean, that's not just a plan, that's a statement.
Of course, a plan like that doesn't execute itself. Behind all the data and the big picture strategy, it's about the people, the team on the ground. The sources keep coming back to this idea of their qualified and enthusiastic employees being a core reason for their success. It's this team that's really pushing to make these global ambitions a reality.
And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Vietcombank is, without a doubt, a huge success story for Vietnam. But it might be something more, a blueprint even. As it leads the charge in both digital and green finance, you have to wonder, can Vietcombank become the ultimate proof that a bank from an emerging market can rise up and compete on the global stage? Looking at everything we've seen, I wouldn't bet against them.